Gorbaga Cahirlock, and my apologies for being a little bit late at the House. We're currently in the middle of a parliamentary party meeting in Fianna Fáil. I want to welcome this bill to the House as it drives forward the need for having transparency when it comes to the ever-changing world of money laundering and with terrorist financing as well. The fifth Anti-Money Laundering Directive, which has been proposed today, or transposed today, is very, very important. And I think in the wake of terrorist attacks and the revelation of the Panama Papers scandal back in 2016, it was understood that there needed to be several measures put in place to increase the level of financial transparency and to ensure that our legislation is keeping pace with the technological changes in our world. We must not be seen to be asleep at the wheel in regards to this, and I think this too often what politicians are seen as being behind the curve of societal change, and too often accused of their legislation not reflecting the reality on the ground. So I'm really, really thrilled to see the government acting in regards to this issue. I wanted to highlight two issues in relation to this bill, to highlight the need for the coordination amongst financial intelligence units across the EU and to adapt our money laundering practices to changing consumer patterns as well. Preventing risks associated with the use of virtual currencies for terrorist financing and limiting the use of prepaid cards is of the utmost importance to our economy. And while prepaid cards like the likes of Apple and Google may seem like a nice gift, we have to think about the more sinister usages of such cards. While the day of physical shop runs still exists, we must recognise the changing nature of our customer spending patterns and adjust our legislation accordingly. Cahirlock. Given prepaid cards' popularity and the anonymous nature of many of them, fraud experts are increasingly concerned about the potential for abuse, from petty scams to money laundering from drug lords and terrorists. The global prepaid market is anticipated to reach $3.5 trillion of value by 2022, and there is no sign of this stopping. Lowering the value limits for carrying out simplified due diligence on e-money instruments is key, and the new €150 limit is very, very welcomed in this regard. Coordination is key, and this bill will enhance the powers of the EU financial intelligence units and facilitating their increasing transparency on who really owns companies and trusts by establishing beneficial ownership registers. And it is critical to ensure that our unit in Garda Síochána have the necessary resources and skills not only to track transactions within the country, but to coordinate successfully with our EU partners. The reforms of the beneficial ownership register for legal entities such as companies will enhance public scrutiny and will contribute to preventing the misuse of legal entities for money laundering and terrorist financing purposes. And I just finished on this point, Cahirlock. The National Register of Beneficial Ownership Information will be interconnected directly to facilitate cooperation and exchange of information between Member States, and improvements will be put in place to ensure that the verification mechanisms of beneficial owner information collected by the registers is accurate and reliable across registers. They say information is power, so ensuring a transparent setup with easily accessible information across Member States is going to be extremely important. Gormagat.